Yo, what's up, dogs? I went and saw Freelance on Tuesday. I went to the West End theater that I normally go to. And when I got to the theater, I didn't get no concessions. I brought a tea with me because, under the weather still, so I wanted a little something warm on the throat to drink. And I got into the theater and no one was there. I ordered my ticket online, and honestly, there was two tickets sold when I ordered, so I was the third man. And so I got in, no one was there yet. And I sat down in my spot, and the two other people showed up. And surprisingly, about a total of 12 people attended this movie. And they were just trickling in. And I went to the late show, too. I went to I think it was a 9:30 show or something like that. So it was a late show on a Tuesday. And yeah, I was surprised. I only thought the three of us would be there, but a handful of us showed up. And yeah, I don't know if everyone enjoyed this movie. I wasn't really entertained, and I'll talk about it more. But I think people left the film just like, what was that? There was no there was, I don't know, man. No one felt like there was no energy. It was weird. Like we just all left the movie kind of just like, yep, just another movie, And I'll tell you a story about this film too. So I bought Talk to Me, and when I actually watched it a week ago, they had trailers on it, right? And it had the trailer for Freelance. And I was kind of like, hey, isn't this movie coming out now? And so I looked it up, and yes, it was coming out. It was already out, actually, when I saw that it was released like 2 weeks ago, like October 27th or something like that. And so I was like, oh, let's go see it. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, I'll wait till cheap night. It doesn't seem like it's like, it doesn't feel like I need to be there day one kind of thing. And I already missed it because I was sick. So yeah, that's how I was introduced to this film, was through watching a Blu-ray, and it showed me the trailer for it. And I think that is kind of weird because, how is there no marketing for this movie? You know what I'm saying? It's weird. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. I should splice in that. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna fool around with some of these videos too, guys, where I'm splicing stuff. But bear with me. I'm still learning the craft here. Okay, so let me break down this film for you. It is an R-rated movie, mostly for the violence. There's a little bit of swearing, and the jokes aren't really that crude, but they try. Honestly, the jokes miss on this one, which is unfortunate because I do think John Cena is actually funny, and he is a really good comedic actor with good comedic timing. And it's a shame that he wasn't able to flex his comedy in here. That's why I brought out Cockblockers here. He's hilarious in this. And everything else that he actually gets to flex his comedy muscles in, he is hilarious. So I'm going to touch on this a little bit later as we go through the film, but it's just a missed opportunity, you know that? And I think everyone else who's a John Cena fan knows that he brings a certain comedy with him, and seeing him in a supposed action comedy movie where he's not actually doing good comedy, it's a shame actually I don't know what happened. I honestly don't know what happened, how he wasn't able to flex his comedy muscle. Anyways, it runs for an hour and 43 minutes. Again, this could have been an hour 30. They could have chopped 13 minutes out of this film and no one would know. Honestly, and there's weird story beats in this film that actually make no sense, and I'm going to go over those soon too. So the budget for this film, $40 million. I guess it's because maybe they filmed on location, and I'm going to talk about that too because I felt like this thing was fake at numerous points, but maybe they did film on location, or this budget is just for actor salary. I don't know. I don't really, and obviously there's going to be a good chunk of budget on the second unit for doing all the action sequences, because what action is in this movie is good. It's passable. It's a good run of the mill action sequences. We're not talking John Wick, but we're talking what would it be? It's not John Wick or Equalizer. It's just kind of it's its own thing. It's an action. I don't know what to refer it as. Just like your generic G.I. Joe action. You know what I'm saying? That makes more sense. Just shoots, guns, a couple explosion. So your good old fashioned action G.I. Joe kind of movie, okay? So the box office side of things, domestically, and this doesn't look good for this film at all, guys. 4.6 million And international, it made 1 million and some chump change, which gives it a total of $5.7 million. And honestly, 5 million. I'm baffled by it. Like, I blame it purely on marketing and lack of marketing and a lack of awareness for this film. That's what I'm going to blame this on. And also, after watching it, I could see whoever does or has seen this, the marketing for this movie, I could genuinely see why you would opt out and go, I'll wait for it to be on streaming or physical media. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I totally get it. So, I don't think this movie is going to make $20 million. Who's with me? You know? Okay, let's talk about the critic side of things, because these guys are harsh on this movie. Much like myself, actually. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So the Rotten Tomato scores are, for the critics, 0%. And the audience score is at a 76%. And the Metacritic side of things is at a 24 out of 100. And the audience side of it is 5.1. And the cinema score is a B-. And my own personal Letterboxd score is at 1.5 stars. Yeah, that's where we're at with this film. And I'm going to go through it. We're going to go through it together. We're going to go through this together. And yeah, let's get into it though. Let's get into it. Time for spoilers. Here we go. Let me talk about the director first though. We got the director, who is a known action director. He's done some great films. His name is Pierre Morel. And he's done Peppermint, great film. Taken, which is why it's out here. A great film. He's done, what is it? From Paris with Love or Paris with Love? I can't remember. The one with John Travolta in it. Another solid action film. I don't know what happened here, but the start of this movie, the first like 5 or so minutes, was great. I actually was really on board with the pacing and what was going on, and I really liked the POV shot of everything that John Cena is talking about with his voiceover and stuff. I thought it was really cool. And then all of a sudden, it just falls apart. It's really weird how the pacing changes and it just slows down and actually comes kind of boring. And then when the action sequences do show up, you're kind of just like, oh well, like it's something happened in this film. I don't know what it is, but the action sequences are actually boring. Maybe it's because this year the action bar is so high, like it's too high, right? Like end it. No more action movies for the rest of 2023 because the bar is too high. No one can compete right now. So save your action films for 2024, where we can all just have a little breath and catch ourselves and see what's going on, because we're done. Nothing's topping what's out there, and this is a problem with Freelance because the action sequences are just so like mundane and run of the mill that it just doesn't excite anymore. Which makes me go, have we pushed the action bar too far that others can't compete anymore? I don't know. Or maybe some people just don't want to compete, you know, and they're just like, hey, run-of-the-mill action movie, here we go, you know, give me the money. So now let's jump into the movie. You know what I'm talking about. Get ready for some spoilers. It's happening right now. So you've been warned. So we follow a character, Mason Petit, played by John Cena. And this character, at the beginning of the film, they showcase him as he's going to law school and he's going to pass the bar, but he doesn't want that life. He doesn't want the life of, someone with the house, the wife, the kids, the cars, that mundane, boring life. He wants to chase action, and that's what's missing in his life. So he enrolls in the military. And as he's in the military, he moves up the ranks and joins an elite task force. And this elite task force is actually sent out on a mission to go and assassinate President Venya, played by Juan Pablo Raba. When they are sent out, the helicopter is downed by a rogue missile. No one really knows where the missile comes from. And the special forces team is killed. And Mason is the only one that survives. And somehow he gets out alive. We don't know about how, but he is. So fast forward to him working at a law firm. And the law firm itself is just like a small, run-of-the-mill law firm that would be at like a little strip mall. And he hates his life. He's really bummed. He misses the action. And he's had to settle down with his wife, Jenny Petit, who's played by Alice Eve. And he has that sedentary lifestyle now. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the lawyer, he has the house, he has the wife, the kids, the car, but he doesn't like it, you know? And so his life is very boring, and he sees no action, you know what I'm saying? And this vibe really spills over into the relationship with Jenny. And we get kind of this weird scene where, like, Jenny's kind of just had enough. And if she separates with him, and she, like, kind of says, like, I think we're done. You know what I'm saying? So, out of the blue, when he's at work, he's visited by an old friend named Sebastian Earl, who is played by Christian Slater. And Sebastian Earl runs, I guess a protection agency, Soldiers of Fortune company called CDI. And the running gag is CDI stands for Chicks Dig It. No one laughed at the joke. It's just there. So Sebastian meets Mason at the law firm, and he offers him a job. He's like, hey, I know you're missing things. You want to get back out there. I have a job for you. And he brings him back to the CDI headquarters. And, like, Mason's looking around going, like, I don't really think I want to be a part of this. I'm not. He also feels like the character is so weird, because when he sees the CDI headquarters, you would assume he'd be hyped. Like, he's like, yes, I'm back in the action. That's what I've always been missing. But he complains that his body isn't what it used to be. And he's not, like, the same guy, but he wants it. You know, it's like, it's really weird that he's given this like opportunity to get back out there and feel revigorated, but he's complaining the whole time. And Sebastian's kind of like pushing him to be like, hey, you still got it. You can do this. And eventually Mason's like, well, what's the job? Right? And Sebastian's pretty much like, it's a protection job. It's very important for me that you do this because I'm trying to get into the protection business, you know, because he's a soldier of fortune thing. And that looks very sinister. We don't dive into that, but it's sinister. Sebastian at times made me feel like I could not trust him. Weird. So we get Mason, who says, I will do it. And the protection job is to look after Claire Wellington, who's played by Alison Brie. And Claire has been requested by President Vanya to come to Paledonia to do an interview. And Claire needs this interview big time because she is no longer like a top investigative reporter. She's actually kind of been shunned by the reporting community because she did some shady stuff that didn't help her career. And now her career is pretty much like interviewing people like poolside and doing like, hell, here's your house and pimp my ride and all this stuff, like very unsavory things for her career. And she needs this opportunity so she can get out of that. You know, she wants to get back to being a top investigative journalist, you know, so she needs this job. And so Mason agrees to do this. And before he goes, he talks to Jenny one more time and says, hey, I'm going to take this mission and I'll be back in a couple days. And Jenny's kind of like, she has this weird flip where she's like, hey, I don't want you to die and leave me and your daughter alone here, right? Like, she just literally said, we're going to separate. And now he's like, cool, I'm going to go do this mission. Now she's like, please don't go and do the mission. You could die, and I don't want to be left here alone with the kids, or the kid, right? I don't want the daughter to be fatherless and all this. And it's, again, weird. Because, like, why would you care? But I guess you would kind of care. Like, I don't have kids, so I guess maybe you would care if your, like, significant other, even though you're going to divorce them, does go away and dies. But would you care if you're not even in caring mode of the relationship? Like, what's the point? This whole character dynamic, this relationship dynamic, really plays out weird on the screen. And something about it, I don't like it. So he goes and talks to his daughter. He's like, yo, I'll be back in 3 days. You know, I forget what he says to her, but he's like, I'll be back in 3 days. I got to go on a vacation. I'm going on a vacation. Because I think he explains away the whole separation thing as a part of this, like, I'm going on a vacation. Look after your mom, if I recall. So he goes off to pick up Claire introduces himself and is like, hey, I'm your bodyguard. We're going to go do this thing. So they get to Paldonia. Now, the first chunk of this whole movie, literally, let's say the first 30 minutes, is setting all that up, okay? The characters and all the blah, 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 back history and stuff like that. Now we get to the meat of the movie. And I'm going to be honest with you, this movie's slow. It just felt slow. So we get to Paldonia. We are introduced to President Varnier. I'm going to mispronounce this guy's name the entire review. So drink every time I say his name because we're messing it up. So we're introduced to this character, and he is really into Claire. Like there's some sexual tension brewing here. Unwanted. But he's funny, okay? I have to say that President Vanya, every time he's on screen, he is actually funny, but no one's laughing at the jokes. He's kind of corny, but there are times where I'm like, that was funny. So there is a couple chuckles in here provided by him. And it's not because of the actual jokes themselves. It's more because of his aloofness and like he comes across as maybe dumb or not in the loop. But he actually is playing 4D chess. Like everything, he knows what everything is going on. And he plays stupid or the jester to disguise his knowledge and keeps people on their toes. But this guy is actually quite smart. And we kind of feel this out throughout the film when we're introduced to this character. He's not a dummy. So as they meet, they're going to go to his house, his villa, and talk and do the interview, right? But when they go on a certain bridge, it gets ambushed. There's a coup. People start attacking them. Mason saves the day. It's a simple shoot 'em up, bang, 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 couple explosions, nothing crazy. They escape. They run through the woods the jungle for a little bit, and then Mason uses his phone, like one of those satellite phones. He calls up Sebastian. He's like, "Hey, we're under attack. I killed everybody. I need a helicopter to get us out of here. Can you do that?" Sebastian's like, "Yes, no problem." So a helicopter shows up. It turns out that the helicopter is full of bad guys. So they gotta kill these guys again, but they actually run away and then they kill them in the woods. And then what happens after that? Like there's parts in this movie where you're just like, oh yeah, what happened after that? And then it's like they got separated by Vanier and then they regroup with Vanier. There's a lot of this there's a tension in this film because Mason hates Vanier. He hates him because Mason assumes that it was Vanier that shot down his helicopter full of his friends from the military team, right? So there's this really love-hate, not even love-hate, hate-hate relationship between the two. And Claire is caught in between it, and she doesn't really understand what the whole thing is and like why he's so mad at the president. And that's also explained as they go on because like their relationship and friendship builds, not romantically like Claire and Mason are going to bang, even though they do hint at it, but he turns her off, right? He's like, no thanks. But like there's this interesting dynamic of President Vanier opening up and sharing more and Mason accepting and learning more about the situation and what's going on here. And Claire's uncovering things because she is actually interviewing him and learning more about the actual situation that's going on here and why there is a coup. Now, here's the thing I gotta stop for a second here because when I'm watching this movie, the coup is led by Colonel Juan Cohorst, and he's played by, I think it's Marton Csokas, and he is the leader of the coup. He looks like a villain. He's actually... his introduction is kind of weird. Who cares about that? I'm not even going to go into that. It's just like... They didn't even like really make him look like a menacing person. But he is. And here's the thing that makes no sense to me. Is the coup is ran by a militia group from South Africa. I thought this whole film was taking place in... Paldonia, which I believe is a fictional place, and I assumed that we were dealing with South America because of just it's a jungle. I don't know if there is a jungle, like a jungle, like the rainforest in Africa. So I didn't think this movie was ever taking place in Africa until the coup, who's led by the South African militant group, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, if this is in South America, is this South African group, like, did they take a boat over? to do this work? Like, I don't know. I'll tell you this. I was confused many times. So his whole thing is like he wants to kill the president and put in a fake president. Well, not a fake president. He wants to put in another president to easily be manipulated because Paledonia has lots of mineral resources that the world needs for future technologies. And that is where the President Vanier is kind of like, I know what we need, like what resources we have. I want to use these resources to grow my country up and serve the people of the future here and not be strip mined from outside resources or outside nations and just like, leave our people to pretty much die. And so that's why they want to get rid of him, because he's this guy. And he's not manipulative or easily manipulated. That's the word. So we learn about that. And then we also learn, so Vanier talks with Mason. He's like, yo, dog, why don't you call your guys up and find out the real mission that you're here for? The real reason you were put on this mission. Like, why are you here? And so he does. He calls Sebastian. And Sebastian's like, well, I figured you wanted to kill him. And that's why we put you on the mission. Because A, you wanted revenge for your crew and our crew. And B, it's a win-win. Like, you kill him, you're good. But Mason's learned a lot about this guy, and he's learned to kind of like him. And he also learns that the helicopter with his buddies in it wasn't actually shot down by President Vanier. He never gave the order to shoot them down. So as that unfolds, Mason now is tasked, honestly, to protect him, to protect Claire and the President Vanier. And so he does, and he shoots everybody. There is an action sequence at the end, which is like the South African militia group coup is after Presidente, and there's just lots of shooting. And then eventually Sebastian CDI shows up, and he's helping Mason, and they start shooting, and everyone dies. All the bad guys die, like South African militia group dies and kind of escapes. I can't remember if the actual villain, the Colonel guy, actually dies. I can't remember. I think he has to die, right? But like, that's the thing. There's no glorious death. Like, we don't see John Cena like put up the dukes, get some rain on him, get him nice and wet, and just like fight it out, and then like break his neck, or like put a gun in his head, or like break his back. Like, there's no dope ending sequence of these two warring factions that actually close the movie. Yeah, that's what's wrong with this film. Well, along with a lot of other things. So I think he gets shot, but it's not climactic. It's anticlimactic. Because honestly, I saw the movie Tuesday, and I can't remember if he died. That's a 1 star right there. Like, can't you just learn from like a Van Damme movie? You have a villain. Van Damme fights the villain. The end. We're all happy. But we didn't get that. We got something. So the movie ends. Mason's a victory. He wins. The president's alive. Claire is able to release the story of what's going on here and regain her, not fame, but her, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh man, what is the word I'm looking for? Notoriety? Guys, I'm drawing a blank on the word that I need here. Maybe it is respect. Yeah, maybe that's the right word. Respect amongst the investigative journalism community. That makes sense, right? And yeah, so now she's able to be a reporter again and do that work that she loves to do. And Mason is no longer with CDI, and he goes back to his wife. Okay, I forgot. This part is weird. So he goes back home to his wife, and she like is all of a sudden like lovey-dovey. Yeah, because I forgot, like, he calls her on that satellite cell phone before the big battle, and he's like, babe, I'm coming home, or something weird. And it's like, she's like, yeah, please just make sure you come home safe and sound. Because I think it was like, I know what I got to do now or something. It was a weird sequence. And she's like, yeah, make sure you come home safe and sound. And then like at the end, she's like all lovey-dovey and they reunite. Then the family's reunited. And I'm sitting there in the movie like this going, yo, didn't she want to just like divorce you? That was a coughing fit. Sorry, guys, I had to edit that part out. So they're back together. They're lovey-dovey, and they're going to go on like I guess a family road trip. And Mason stops at the bank machine, and he finds out that he has $5 million in there from President Vanier. And the president retires too. He's no longer going to be a part of Paladonia. He did the job. He got everybody the mineral rights and things like that. So the country's going to be prosperous. But he's like, I'm out. And then as his gift to Mason, it's the $5 million. So now Mason's kind of like, life is good. Man, this movie's weird. It's just so weird. Oh, God. So that's the end of the review. That's the end of the movie, and that's the end of the review. So should you see it? Don't. Go watch something else, man. Like, go watch Taken. Watch Taken. Or, like, anything else. Just whatever. But if you are curious, you know what? Cheap night, do it. Or wait till you can stream it. I don't even think I'm going to buy this for the collection. It's going to be one of those movies where if I buy a big box off of the marketplace and that movie happens to be in there, that's the only way that is ever going to get into this collection, period. I'm sorry. John Cena, whoever your agent is, you need to talk to him or her and be like, yo, dog, don't put me in crappy movies like this ever again. Because John Cena, I like him. I really do. I've seen pretty much every movie he's done. And I will continue to support John Cena and go and see his films, but this was a miss, John. Me to you. This is a miss. I'm sorry. Anyways, man, that's it. That's the end of the review. So whatever movie you guys are watching, I hope you're loving them and digging them, because I'm out of here. Peace out, everyone. Bye.